Yo, welcome back to another video, fellas. So we're not in the car today, but in usual style, you see the title down below. Let's get started. So in today's video, I want to discuss the most dangerous vice, especially when it comes to today's age, which I believe is lust. Now, simply put, the reason why I say today's age, especially when it comes to AI, especially when it comes to the easy access we have in today's age, where you can literally pop up into your video, search for whatever, and have instant access to it, is just beyond insane. But the reason why, in terms of lust, I think is the most dangerous is because it doesn't come in a form where it's a beverage. It doesn't come in a form where it's at a spot where you're just blowing off your money and becoming addicted to it. It's not in a form where you can just roll up a paper, put some weed in and roll it up and just smoke it. No, it's literally the one lust where subconsciously you get controlled if you're not aware, where people don't even realize, like, you'll have moments where people just be like, what the, like people will say like, oh, like, I don't know why the fuck I was searching that. And it's just like, that's the danger of that vice, when you're subconsciously not even aware of what you're doing or what you're searching or what your mind lingers to when you have that vice in your life. And it's to a point where you're not even in control of yourself. So that's in terms of what I want to discuss in today's video, in terms of how this one vice can ruin you in terms of your confidence, your relationships with people, let alone girlfriend, wife, whatever, and ways that you can kind of prevent and kind of start that journey. In terms of, I'm not talking about this no November or just certain month. I'm just saying in general, like getting it in control into your life, so then you can start heading towards the path that you should be on. And what I mean by that is being the best version of yourself. Now, real quick, guys, before we dive into that video, I just want to mention, if anyone right now looking to level up in terms of their fitness goals, as well as mindset right before this year ends, we're not on that new year, new me shit. If you're looking to start right away, there'll be a link down below where you can book a call with me. And on that call, we go over in terms of what I offer inside my program. So if that sounds like something of interest of you, be sure to book that call. And from there, we can see if it makes sense for us to work with each other. But right back to the video, guys. Now, when it comes to lust, I don't want you guys to confuse lust with being just normally attracted to a woman. Like, that's perfectly fine. Like, if you notice a beautiful woman and stuff like that, like, yeah, like, that's completely normal as any man, sees it. But the type of lust I'm talking about is when you let your sexual urges control you. And what do I mean by that? Let's say in terms of just on Instagram, right? You're constantly looking, you're constantly letting your urges drive, control your mind in terms of what you do, searching for the next baddie online, following them when they don't even know your ass, but you're just doing it anyways because you're not in control. You're just letting your urges take over, and you're just doing it anyways. Constantly watching content, porn, constantly doing that, even when sometimes it be when you don't even want to, and you're just doing it just because. That's what I mean by lust. It's you're letting your sexual urges control you, and your logic just goes out the window. You're constantly hanging out with women who don't even respect you, let alone who you don't even respect, but you're just doing it anyways. That's what I mean when I talk about not lust, and how it just has a control over you completely, to where things that don't even make sense, but you just do them anyways. That's something that a lot of men don't even realize they're doing. And that's what I mean when I say it's all subconscious. It's all subconscious and you're not even realizing it. That's to me is is why I think it's the most dangerous vice. Point blank. Like imagine one day getting caught over that shit, right? And it's your fucking loved one. Or maybe it's your partner. Obviously at that moment you're gonna feel guilty as fuck. But the crazy thing is like you let it get so far to the point where it happened like that. And the craziest part of that is you weren't even aware. You were just doing it subconsciously because you never get caught. But I swear to God, the, the if any if that moment ever happens to you, you're gonna feel completely dismantled. Why do you feel like the guilt and the shame comes after you do or release and all that stuff? Because you're not even aware of what the hell you're doing until you get that post nut clarity and you're just like, yo, what the fuck did I just do? That's what it is, guys. It's basically just discussing how the fact that it's compared to the other vices, it's the most dangerous. It's the one that really takes over your mind without you even realizing it. Like, let's talk about it, right? In terms of gambling, there's apps, there's a casino that you have to drive to spend money, but though they have barriers, right? Same with alcohol. You can easily just stop going to a bar. You can easily just dump the liquor down your sink. You know, because those are just external things. It's something that you put into your body. But the thing is with lust is it's all up here. It's all in controlling your wavelength and how you think and how it rewires your brain when you do it for a long period of time, especially, guys. You know, I want you to think in terms of anything, but in this case lust, right? Let's say, you know, most of the time it's not our fault, you know, especially in today's age when we have such easy access to so many links, so many access in terms of porn. And I want you guys to think of it this way, right? Let's say you have a spirit that is paying you no mind and all that stuff. And let's say you get exposed to whatever content, you know, so that's your first exposure to it. And the spirit sees it and it just kind of hangs around you, right? And then you do that act again. Now the spirit's more intrigued. Now it's saying, this person keeps doing this over and over. And he's not even aware, so let me hang around this dude because this seems like I can get joy from him. It seems like I can really control him. So you do it again and again and again and again. And what you don't realize you're doing is you're feeding the spirit over and over and over to the point where you can't even recognize yourself. You grew this spirit so much to the point that you don't even recognize yourself because he completely took over. Now, the hard part is fighting through that, unwinding, fixing that up, because you fed this spirit so much to the point where you can't even recognize yourself, right? And now, trying to reverse that, especially in today's age, it's gonna be 10 times harder because it's only getting worse. Guys, we got AIs that are about to do some shit that you already know motherfuckers are planning to fucking do with that. So now bringing it back to my analogy and the things that our human brain can't even like keep up with. You think you're gonna stand a chance in the next coming years if you don't stop and try to build and fix that right now? You think you're gonna handle what the world has coming for us in terms of AI and all that shit if you don't take care of this issue in terms of lust right now? It, it's gonna be damn near impossible, and that's how they want it, guys. That's how they want it. So in terms of that spirit, the only way you're gonna fully take back your life is if you acknowledge the fact that the more you do this shit, you're feeding into that energy. And the more you lose yourself and can't be in control of your lust, the more you will never be able to lead by example. I'll take it to another wave, right? Say for instance, in terms of building a lean aesthetic physique, right? You think you're ever going to have the discipline to be able to lead yourself if you let something like this control you to a point where you're draining your energy consistently to where you can't even lead yourself? You think you're going to have the discipline it takes to build a lean physique, wake up early in the gym, hit your workouts, actually push yourself hard, progressive overload, when you're constantly drained and unmotivated and undisciplined? You're not going to be able to do that. You're never going to be able to do that. And if you can't even do that, which I believe is straight up level one, if you can't even do level one shit and you expect to have a family one day and lead by example, there's no way. There's no way you'll be able to do that. But it all starts with you guys. You have to recognize how much you're feeding into this, whether it's years, months. And you just have to understand that the only way I take control is when I stop feeding into the spirit, when I stop feeding into this. And that's the only way you'll be able to stop. So let me go over to my next point. So in this point, basically, I want to talk about in terms of how the cost of lust, right? Think of the time you spend wasting watching that video, scrolling through TikTok, seeking pleasure, seeking enjoyment from all this entertainment, keeping you distracted, right? Think of all the time you waste doing that shit when you could have been at the gym, where you could have showed up to work earlier, but you're constantly late. Or you could have been, studying for that test, studying for that homework, hitting those deadlines for whatever project or whatever important shit you got going on. All because you're wasting your time looking at this shit because it's controlling you. That shit will cost you time. And let's go to another point. Your standards. Your standards completely drop, guys. Your standards completely drop to the point where you'll end up choosing a girl that you don't even find attractive, but your lust is in so much control that you just completely drop your standards. So someone who you wouldn't even take serious, all of a sudden now you just want to get it off just because, your standards in terms of the people you hang around, the people that don't really respect you like that, your standards just drop because you're just in a state of not wanting to be alone, and you just, you'll tolerate it. And then in terms of maybe, let's say, even your family not respecting you, or let alone anyone at all, and you just tolerate it. You just laugh it off, or just put it in the back burner, thinking that it's not gonna do much. Oh, it's just whatever. But deep down, and as shit continues, the thing is, your shoulders become heavy. Your shoulders become heavy. It's too much. It's too much to bear. Because when you get that consistently each and every single day, it gotta get to a point where you're sick and tired of it. But the thing is, with lust, it feeds off that. So it'll continue to keep you in that state for as long as you let it. As long as you let it. And this goes, this is a no-brainer, but once your standards drop, what do you think that shit does to your confidence? That shit tanks your fucking confidence. That shit will absolutely take your confidence. The minute you drop your standards, the minute you're not the person that you recognize or are proud of at all, your standards completely, your confidence completely drop. You know, you'll be constantly broke. You won't even be able to lead yourself, because how can you trust yourself? You're breaking your word each and every moment you do that shit. Each and every moment that you let lust take over a decision that you should have had handled, your confidence is completely out the window. Your confidence is completely out the window, and you can't respect yourself. And the thing is, as a man, bro, you need that confidence. You need that confidence to prosper and rise up and be the leader that you know you can be. You need it. It's so important. Even through my experience in sports, all that shit. If I didn't have confidence, there is no way I would be in situations where I'm winning a damn chip. There would be no way, there would be no situation of me starting on a winning squad, on a winning season, and me starting consistently each and every day if I didn't have that confidence. There is no way I would raise my standards in terms of taking on a leadership position, helping men out in terms of their fitness goals, in terms of keeping them accountability. If I wasn't even doing that myself, there's no way without confidence I'd be able to do any of that shit on a consistent basis. So that's what you gotta realize, man, when it comes to just being a man in general. You know, being a man is about having control, having purpose, having drive, having goals, having focus. And what does lust take away? It takes away all those three in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. So that's the cost when it comes to lust, man. Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound too fucking promising to me. That sounds like something I should be fucking steering right away from. But if that's something that you're struggling with right now, I'm telling you, today, after this video today, cut it out completely. So here's the point where you can start getting ahead of it starting today, right? So for this whole week, and don't judge yourself, because the one thing we don't want to do is put ourselves even more down than we already are, right? Because obviously once you're aware, you know, that it's become an issue in whatever stage you are in life, you know, don't beat yourself over it, because a lot of people don't even have the awareness of that, right? So what you do right now, and you know, grab a paper, pencil, notes, whatever you need, but for the next 7 days, I want you to just list in terms of when do you get urges, right? When do you get urges? Usually it's usually either in the morning, and the night is usually probably where it's the most heightened, because ideal is a devil's playground, if you ever heard that term. So it's just like when you're not much is moving or acting, or you're not doing much, when you're in that ideal time, that's where things when the urges arise. So for the next 7 days, just start analyzing, start writing down when those urges come up. You know, you may be different. Maybe for you it's midday, you know, everyone has a different schedule, but start taking note of that. You know, start taking note of when you have the urges. Another thing I want you to write down is in terms of where do you go to? Where do you go to when those urges hit? Because everyone got those videos, them their favorite video or whatever, you know, category, all that shit, website, whatever it's link, whatever it's OnlyFans, all that shit. Write down where do you go when these urges start to kick in. Where do you go? You know, and then from there, I want to realize what's triggering the urges, right? Like we already got like where do we go when the triggers hit, you know, when's the time where it heightens, but like where is it coming from, right? Is it coming from boredom? Is it just because like you got nothing to do? Is it is it when you scroll on Instagram? Like, is it just off of boredom? Like, what is it? You know what I'm saying? Is it when you're around this certain spot? You know, like maybe I don't know. Maybe if it's a bar, maybe just stop going to that bar, or just I don't know. That's kind of or like maybe a strip club, right? Like, like it's pretty obvious if it's like the strip club where you're getting urges, like maybe like yeah, being around explicit shit, maybe just don't be around that, you know. But that could be the case. That could be the case. Look, I'm not here to judge. Like I'm just saying in general, like start to figure out what it is. Like is it from you hanging around certain type of person? Because sometimes even a person could have influenced that in your life, you know. I'll take it to my experience. Fucking uncle damn near exposed me to that shit early on. And I'll tell and real shit, guys, that shit fucked me up. That shit fucked me up. You know, that's something I had to really understand at a certain point and build off. But I got exposed to that shit early on, and that shit fucked me up, bro. And that's why I say, bro, I don't think a lot of people take it serious, but I think it's coming more to light with even some of the dudes that you watch in terms of the fitness industry, in terms of just celebrities, all that shit. It's a very serious thing. So that's where I say, like, just try to understand where it's coming from, you know? Like, is it who you're around? Is it just straight out of boredom? You know, start writing all this shit down. Now, for those next steps that you want to take after you do all that shit, is we want to eliminate access immediately, right? We want to limit access in terms of where those vices or where your urges take control, because the more we can get started on doing that, the more we lessen that spirit that I was talking about earlier in terms of that spirit holding control onto you. Because you got to realize that spirit is going to feed off you until could be the day till you die, bro. But the thing is, I don't want that shit to happen to y'all, bro. I want y'all to be in control and live the best lives that you have. So the next steps would be kind of limiting the access that really takes over, right? Like for an example, don't have your phone on you at 1 a.m. Like we all have access to an alarm clock, hell, even your phone, right? But we can still buy an alarm clock that we can set in our room to wake us up to make sure we're not late to anything that we need to go to. You know, whether it's school, whether it's dropping off someone, whether it's making sure you're sticking to a schedule and the routine that you should have. You know, like let's start maybe not having our phones in our hand late at night, you know. Or another example, right? And I seriously never understood this, but again, I'm here to help everyone. But if you have fucking thirst trap bottle of followers of models and all this shit, I want you to unfollow that shit right away. Like right away, you know. If the urges are through Instagram and it's off of certain pages that go by, you know, in terms of you following them, unfollow that shit. Like unfollow that shit. They don't know who the fuck you are. They don't care to know you. And you should have more self-respect for yourself to not even deal with anyone who's, let alone you don't know, but also who's not inspiring you and getting yourself to be the best version of yourself. So unfollow that shit immediately, bro, if you're following them. Now, let's say you're not following them and you just happen to, run across some pages. There's these little three dots on the fucking right hand corner of a post where you can select not interested or whatever it says, I think you can suggest it to not interested in the post, something like that. I want you to start doing that shit. I want you to start monitoring what comes up to your feed that's keeping those triggers high. And I want you to, not interested in a post, click that, remove posts, like just remove it out of your sight, out of your eyes, right? That's what I want you to start doing as well. Just doing that. There's tons of blockages. There's tons of blockages in terms of just like sites. We've got so many apps now that do that shit. So if that's the case, I don't think you really need to in terms of money, because I feel like you can just cancel that shit. But if you need to, invest in that, bro. Maybe sometimes it takes money to have you do, like, to really solidify shit. So if that's the case, get an app that blocks certain sites and get started on that. So those are kind of ways we want to just eliminate ourselves in environments where like they have us trigger happy. Like if it's late at night, and this is where like urges kick in, and let's say you don't have your phone and all that stuff, just like, I don't know, try read a book. Read a book. Like sometimes reading something right before you go to bed, you got your alarm clock set, so you're making sure you're waking up on time. Stuff like that you can start doing right now immediately. That way you can alleviate your mind to going more focused on something else rather than feeding those urges. So that's kind of the next step that you can take in terms of getting yourself away from environments that really trigger that. The next thing you have to realize once you get yourself kind of in that environment and all this stuff, right? The biggest thing is energy. So the thing is, you have to transfer energy to something else in your life. So once we get control of our environments, our triggers, all this stuff, you're gonna have a bunch of energy, which is natural because now you're not, rather than you draining all that energy, you're actually putting it to use for something else. So what you can actually start doing now is putting more energy to the gym, right? Actually pushing yourself hard, so then we can actually gain muscle, build muscle, retain it. We can start focusing on cleaning up our diet, which is another video I actually talk about in this channel. But if I need to, make another one, I absolutely will. Just let me know down in the comments. But, in terms of food, now as you start cleaning up your diet and stuff like that, you'll have more energy in terms of that and how you actually move throughout the day. So you'll have more energy to focus on, cleaning up your diet. That way we can benefit from not only building our muscles throughout the gym and stuff like that, but also having a proper recovery. We can start now putting in energy in things that actually level us up in terms of having a skill, right? So rather than going to this job that you don't really have a passion for, but obviously we have to do what we got to do to make a living and all that stuff, whoever we got to take care of, we can use that extra energy that we have to actually learn a skill, or maybe do an event, like go participate in some events in terms of like co-ed indoor soccer. I only mention that because I played college soccer and stuff like that. It was most of my life. So, like stuff like that could be cool. And it's actually something that I'm pretty much interested in doing very soon too. I haven't played in a minute. I've been taking more of the bodybuilding route, but I think I'm gonna take a little break off of that and just focus on aesthetics. But that's something I'm looking into getting back into. But stuff like that, co-ed groups and stuff like that, or maybe dance classes and all that stuff. Like, guys, that shit isn't corny, bro. That's stuff that, like, that's an actual skills that you can actually work on, because now you have the actual energy. Now you actually feel motivated. Now you're actually becoming the better version of yourself, and you're exploring different parts of yourself that maybe you didn't even know about. So you can spend time putting energy into that, and energy in terms of learning. We should always be consistently learning, especially in today's age where we have access to so much knowledgeable stuff that can be super beneficial in our life. So, you can put energy in terms of that as well. But that's what you kind of want to do is you want to replace the energy that you sacrificed and put that energy towards good use. Spend time more time with family, all that stuff. Now that we have to, that's the thing when it comes to like you have to replace the energy for something else. Same thing with anything or any vice or all that stuff. It doesn't just go away from you stopping. You have to replace it with something else. Again, I'll take it for another example. Like after I was done playing college soccer, there's something that I replaced that with was bodybuilding. Was just straight up the gym. I love that shit. It's something now I help people get in shape too as well. But it's something that I replaced that with because that was the majority of my life. I ran and then I did soccer and then I identified as that. But then once that time was done for me, I had to replace it with something. So that's the same thing you kind of have to do when it comes to lust. You have to replace it with something. That way things can continue rolling, but it's more beneficial to you because it's at a more positive route. It's not detrimental to the man becoming the man that you see yourself becoming. Then once you start replacing that energy and redirecting it towards something more positive, you now have to ask yourself and kind of build the standard for you, right? You have to kind of build a code for you to honor. So like what type of people I'm going to have around me, because now we have trust within ourselves, but we should also have respect for ourselves. So now it comes to what type of people do I have around me? Am I going to tolerate any of that bullshit? It's not, now I'm going to, no, it's just, this is what I accept. This is what I don't accept. And that's the standard I'm gonna hold myself to, you know? Even with women, guys. It's like, am I gonna be with a woman who's disrespectful and I'm just gonna tolerate it? Or am I actually gonna stand up for myself, respect myself, and know better and not put up with that bullshit? So that's kind of standards that you kind of build a code. Now you can start actually building a code for yourself to honor, because now we have standards for ourselves, and we respect ourselves enough to not do some low level shit, And another thing is just kind of like, is this stuff I'm doing beneath me? Like, is this stuff just low quality? Like, do I not even see myself associating with this at all? You write that shit down, you honor that shit and be like, and then you ask yourself anywhere you go or whatever you're doing is like, is what I'm doing right now beneath me? If so, then, that's your standard right there. Then you just stop it right there. You do what you have to do, but now we can start building codes for ourselves. Now we can start honoring them on a day to day while we redirect this energy. We start to identify with a new version of ourselves, because now we're taking back control of our life. So things you can do on top of that is just kind of write down like, I don't do this. I don't tolerate this. If I do this, like, this is weak behavior. Not, don't put it in a way where it's just like, if maybe 50-50, like, oh, I shouldn't do this. No, like, I don't do this. Oh, I shouldn't do that. No, I don't do that. You want to write down, I don't do that. Period. That's what it is to have standards for yourself. I don't do this. Period. You're solidifying it. If you leave room to play around with, that's when shit gets dangerous, because you're entering that danger zone. You're 50-50 with everything. We're not 50-50 motherfuckers in this fucking channel, bro. Like, that's straight up, like, that's something that's non-negotiable. We're not 50-50. So that's kind of things that you can also write down on top of having those standards and a code for yourself. So what I'll say on top of that, when it comes to dealing with lust, this battle of lust, a good thing is just being a part of a community. You know, whether it's a coach, mentorship, accountability partner, all that stuff. You know, for me, I had a homie that me and him would be a accountability partner and all that stuff. I've joined mentorships. I've been a part of brotherhoods, and have one for myself as well. You know, that's another thing in terms of my program, where it's like you'll be around like-minded individuals who have taken back control of their life in terms of their fitness, self-image, all that stuff. So being a part of that is also going to help on top of your journey, because you're going to be around like-minded people you can reach out to at any given moment, especially when it comes to a moment of weakness. You know, don't look at it in terms of you identifying with that and being weak, but take it as, we're human. We're gonna have moments, especially at the down period of down moments, you're gonna have a weak moment. But having a brotherhood around you, having a mentor that you can reach out to and all that stuff, that's another thing that can really help in terms of dealing with that lust, dealing with that battle. Because again, it's all mental. It's not something you just rinse down the drain. It's not something you just roll up. It's not something where you go to a spa or open up an app to fucking spend tons of money on. It's all mental. So, we're all human. We're gonna have moments of weakness, but being a part of something, of a growing thing with other individuals who are like-minded, that's something that's going to help a lot in terms of that battle of lust. So get into one immediately. Doesn't even have to be me, guys, but like getting yourself into a community, let's say even a community that deals with that on an everyday basis. Being a part of that is going to be another step in terms of conquering that voice, for sure. Like absolutely hands down. And it helped me a ton as well, especially when it came to just, moments of up and down that we all do as men. So that's something that you can join as well and be a part of. That way you're not dealing with that shit alone, bro. You're doing it with brothers who are like-minded as you and want to see you succeed as much as they do. So from there, just having actionable steps, like from the things that I've listed out in terms of being a part of, actually reach out. Text your partner when, you're having a moment of that weakness, or just like I said earlier briefly, but just like if it's in a dark room and you're having urges, just get up, bro, read a book, or just like do some push-ups. But you don't want to be standing still, because again, ideal is the devil's playground. So if you're just standing still thinking that it's going to go away and the urges keep rising and stuff like that, like you got to get up, you got to do some push-ups, jumping jacks, whatever you got to do. Start journaling. Like, so for me, man, like if I have a burst of energy and I got some ideas and stuff like that, especially as I'm making content, like I'm gonna write that shit down, bro. So, if for you, if you just need to let the thoughts out, like start journaling or something. But the worst thing you can do is just sit still and just let it linger, because it's gonna build tension, and it's gonna and then tensions are gonna start to rise, and then the urges are gonna start feeding into each other, and then eventually you're just gonna fall back and do the same shit. But just take the action, take the step, do something. The hell, if worst comes to worst, bro, go take a cold shower, bro. That shit will wake you up immediately. But overall, seriously, just like take that action, reach out. Don't matter what, if you think it's too late or something like that, nah, just do it anyways. You doing the action anyways is going to help you a lot more than you sitting and pondering on it, because eventually you're just gonna not resist and then give in completely. So actually take the action, and use the access that you have in terms of your brotherhood, connection, mentor, anything. But worst case scenario, just get up, do some push-ups, take a cold shower. Stuff like that will help you as well. So I'll end this video with this, man. In terms of lust, bro, that shit isn't going anywhere. You know, it's not going anywhere. And like I said, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse with AI and all this shit coming in, which is already happening to this day. So you can only imagine the next years ahead. If you're someone really who's like struggling with this for real, take that shit serious, because you don't want to you don't want to have this spirit eat at you alive and you're 65 and then you're realizing what the fuck is going on, you know? I'm not, and again, I'm not saying it's too late for you, but I just don't want you to end up being in that situation with that spirit still eating at you alive and then having to unwind and put in the work at that point in your life. You know, so it's not going anywhere, but you have two choices, bro. Either rise to occasion and take over and take control of your life, or you just let it feed you, eat away at you, and have it affect everything in your area in terms of your life, business, relationship, marriage, all that shit, guys. All that shit that's actually serious and actually important. You know, if you don't want to have that shit dictate your life and ruin relationships, then just definitely be sure to take control of your life starting today. So let's go back to kind of the steps, you know, follow the steps in terms of track your urges, you know, track where your urges are happening. Let's change our environment, you know, let's change our environment, put ourselves in different spots, you know, get out of those apps, all that stuff. And then from there, you know what I mean, let's start actually recognizing patterns, seeing where all this shit's happening, and redirecting that energy, you know, redirecting that energy from this to something else. And then from there, you understand kind of your code, your standard, and then take your protocol after that. You take your protocol in terms of taking actionable steps, taking that accountability partner, texting that mentor, texting that group that you're a part of, you know, and worst case scenario, you just get up, do some push-ups, take a cold shower if you need, and then and follow those steps through, and you'll be able to conquer that shit. And if you want structure, and a coach will hold you in a higher standard in terms of discipline with controlling your vices, as well as discipline in building the body that actually commands respect, not only for yourself, but your peers and your friends and your family amongst you, be sure to click that link down below. Book a call with me. We'll go over in terms of what we need to do in order to get you to the goals that you desire to get. That's all for today's video, guys. Be sure, if you're new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. You know, let me know in the comments in terms of where you're at in this journey. You know, be sure to share your stories, especially if you overcame it, man, just to help guys who view this video and see kind of the testimonials from you guys, you know, give them motivation to fucking start today, man. But that's all for today's video, guys, and be sure to stick around for the next one. All right, peace.